Hi, everybody. This is Saad. I was just alerted to an article that Mark Perry wrote on his website. Mark Perry is an economist who's been on my show. The title of the article is Women Earned the Majority of Doctoral Degrees in 2020 for the 12th straight year and outnumber men in grad school 148 to 100. So 1.48 to 1, which is a gigantic ratio in favor of women. So, of course, this must mean that we need to create more programs to support women because, the United States, Canada, they're just like the Taliban, where women are afraid to enter university, where they are held back. They're so held back that they outnumber men in every degree, in almost every field, at every level of attainment around the world, but the patriarchy. I've already put several clips throughout the years on my channel. Here's one from this is the Sad Truth 52. It's called Rampant Sexism at American Universities. Of course, it was a satirical title. This was a clip where I was discussing the fact that if you take the breakdown of four levels of educational attainment in the United States: associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, and doctoral degree across five racial groups. So there are 20 cells basically that you could look at. In every single one, across every racial group and every level of educational attainment, women outnumbered men. So you couldn't have data that was more contrary to the narrative that women are being discriminated against today in universities. The exact opposite is true, but we don't want to let pesky data get in the way of a alluring faux narrative of victimhood. Then I later released another clip, Global Sex Differences in Educational Attainment, the Sad Truth 648, where I provided some more evidence regarding this completely fraudulent narrative. Yes, there was a time in the past when there was systemic misogyny against women in the universities. That is certainly not true. And if anything, men are checking out from the educational institutions at alarming rates. No one benefits when you have a sexually reproducing species where both sexes should be given every opportunity to flourish, where you take previous historical grievances where people discriminated against one sex, and now under the cloak of progressivism we completely reverse the trends of sexism, so that now we discriminate against men in every possible nook and cranny in the educational system. So I'm just going to read for you here some of the data that Dr. Perry shares, and I will put a link to this article. This is on the AEI website, the American, what is it called again? I can't remember what it's called. The American Enterprise Institute. Yes, my apologies. So anyways, let me go with some of the data. So first, I'm going to list for you here doctoral degrees by field and gender, or of course, what we mean here is biological sex, but fine. So there are a bunch of categories: arts and humanities, biological and agricultural science, which is STEM, business, education, engineering, health and medical sciences, mathematics and computer science, physical and earth sciences. By the way, health and medical sciences is also STEM. Now we're going to talk about the genocide against women in STEM. Public administration, social and behavioral sciences, and other fields. So what I'm going to begin by doing is read to you within each of these the percentages. In arts and humanities, 51.8% women. So females to male is 107.5 to 100. So women outnumber men. Biological and agricultural sciences, 116.5 to 100 for women. In business, it is still men who dominate at the doctoral level. 53.3% are men. In education, it's 210.6 to 100 for women. In engineering, that's another one that's dominated by men. 75.1% is dominated by men. Aha! That's where the patriarchy has gone to die. That's its last stopping, its last red line. Health and medical sciences, a STEM field, it's 249.7 to 100 in favor of women. Did you hear that? 249.7 to 100. 71.4% of doctoral degrees are to women. Mathematics and computer science is also one that is still led by men, 74.2%. Aha! That's where the patriarchy is. I always knew that those number theorists were rabid misogynists. Physical and earth sciences, it's still led or dominated by men, 65%. Public administration, 320.2 to 100 in favor of women. Social and behavioral sciences, so I'm both in the business school and behavioral scientist, 61.3% women. Other fields, 53.9% women. If you total all of these, all big categories of knowledge and science, 53.1% of doctoral degrees are granted to women. It's a ratio of 113.2 to 100. So, arts and humanities, women lead. Biological and agricultural science, women lead. That's 2. Education, women lead. Health and medical sciences, women lead. Public administration, women lead. Social and behavioral sciences, women lead. And other fields, a whole bunch of stuff combined, women lead. So there are a few that men lead, but if you just look per category, women now lead more categories than men. And the totality, they outnumber men by a significant margin at the doctoral level. I won't go through all the details of at the master's level, but the totality, 60.1% of master's degrees across all these areas of human knowledge are for women. So they outnumber men 150.6 to 1. Are you listening? Are you hearing how badly women are being discriminated against? And then finally, if you look across, graduate certificates, master's degrees, and doctoral degrees, it's 59.7% women and 40.3% men. That's a ratio of 148.1 to 1. This is not, 1.1 to 1, which would sometimes be a statistically significant effect. This is an outlandishly female bias in all levels of graduate education, but yet we still hang on steadfastly to we need people to be allies to women because they are so deeply discriminated against in the universities. Now look, any act of discrimination against any single individual, irrespective of their sex, their gender orientation, their sexual orientation, is a bad thing. And if it is a systemic thing, then of course we need to redress it. But honest people, dignified people, people with sharaf, as we say in Arabic, do not hang on to a narrative of victimology when that victimology narrative is blatantly false today. It is no longer true that we live in the 19th century. In the 21st century, as shown by this data, women are not being discriminated against in STEM, in graduate school, in master's program, in doctoral programs. It's the exact opposite that's true. And yet, we hang on. I receive tons of emails. How are you going to be an ally to women? What have you done to be an ally to women? I'm not an ally to anybody, any group in particular. I'm an ally to every single individual who desires my input so that they can live a more intellectually fulfilled life. And as a professor, I am an ally to every single one of my students because I am mandated with the task for the small time that they are with me to enrich their intellectual landscape, and I do it irrespective of their biological sex or how tall they are or what their skin hue is. Identity politics is one of the greatest cancers of the human spirit. It removes what makes you unique, your individuality, and says that your individuality is subsumed, is subjugated, is superseded by some collective identity. You're just a little cog in this greater collective wheel. No, I am Saad first, and then I'm a member of some group, which makes part of my identity. But the identity that defines me to the world is the unique personhood that constitutes Saad. So let's stop with the victimology. I just shared with you unbelievably detailed data about what's happening in graduate schools, and it is certainly not the case that women are being discriminated against. If we wish to tackle sexism in universities, we might want to be finding why it is that so few men are now attending university. Take care, everybody. Slowly we inch.